Meidän seuraava puheenvuoron pitäjä on vaihtunut ja muuttunut, mutta aihe on pysynyt samana. Next speaker is presenting from Dolomites in Italy. She's Amanda Shriwise, a consultant in the WHO European Office for Investment for Health and Development. She's also a research fellow in political economy at the University of Bremen in Germany. Amanda's topic today is Wellbeing is the new GDP, gross domestic product, driving the economy to produce healthy lives, social sustainability, and prosperity for all. Welcome, Amanda. The stage is yours.
All right, let me just share the slides. As you can see, the presentation is entitled Wellbeing is the New GDP, driving the economy to produce healthy lives, social sustainability, and prosperity for all. And as Finland knows as a leader in this agenda, this is a high priority for countries and communities and cities, not only in Finland, but across the WHO European region. And we're exploring how best to support and push this movement forward together. So what do we mean when we talk about building economies of well-being and building healthy, caring, prosperous societies for all? We know that today people want to thrive, not just to survive. They want to live in healthy and safe communities, and they expect authorities to deliver public policies which can secure a better life today and also for future generations. The public, governments, and the international community also want to see vibrant economies, nonviolent societies, well-educated, healthy, and informed populations, and also resilient and sustainable environments. And together, this is critical for moving forward. But we also know that people across the region are struggling, not just since COVID, even before. And these inequities will hinder us from pushing towards this agenda. So this slide gives us a quick overview of what we're seeing across a number of key human well-being indicators in Europe. The differences are according to the bottom 20% of the population and the top 20% of the population. And they're also broken down by gender, as you will see across a number of indicators, ranging from illness limiting daily life on the far left, to poor life satisfaction in a sort of tan color, to poor mental health in purple, and poor self-reported health in the black. And here we can see that across all of these areas, people in the bottom 20% are struggling much more than those at the top. And we see particularly gender differences in poor life satisfaction, where we see 3 times as many males at the bottom compared to the top experiencing this, as well as poor mental health, where again, we see twice as many males in the bottom 20% experiencing this according to the top. This brings a number of risks for individuals and families across Europe. So we know that if people have limiting illness in that affects their health, this presents risks to individuals and families, and also risks for greater levels of poverty and social exclusion. We know that if people have poor life satisfaction, they're not able to thrive and flourish. We're also aware that there have been a number of mental health problems for communities and families across the region, particularly since COVID, and our Mental Health Coalition in the WHO European region is working hard to address these. And we also know that self-reported health is a really critical predictor, ultimately, of future health problems. So across all of these indicators, we have to be doing better. We think that the well-being economy approach can help us to do this. So if I can go to the next slide, we know that many of these challenges linked to human well-being have common underlying causes. And this is where we think that the well-being economy approach can really help us make advances across a number of areas in a way that's coherent and that also builds trust and social cohesion across our societies. So we know that we have too many economic development models that are focusing on profit over people, right? And this is problematic both for health and also for the economy ultimately in remaining competitive. We know that we're seeing inequitable distribution of opportunities and resources, and that's feeding a lot of those inequities that I showed on the previous slide. This can result in deepening gaps in society. It can affect social and economic and environmental determinants of health, which we know are key. We also see increased privatization and ultimately the weakening of many public assets and services. And this is highly problematic to ensure public accountability, to maintain high service level standards, and also to ensure that everybody across society can access the services that they need equally, and that we're maintaining those services and also investing in them accordingly, both for now and also for future generations. And we also know that we've seen a big digital transformation and that this is expected to continue. And this can bring gains for health so that people can reach health services remotely when they need them, as we saw during COVID. But the way in which we go about this transformation can also have critical impacts for social cohesion and also trust across our society, particularly linked to the way in which information is presented and the way in which people trust it and who it's coming from. So ultimately, the well-being economy approach is meant to give us a coherent framework to push forward and address these underlying causes in ways that are good for the economy and good for health. And we're currently recognizing that this well-being economy approach is underpinned by the principle that public investment, spending, and resources should be guided by the extent to which a policy, service, or organization can improve population and societal well-being. But what do we really mean by well-being? So we know that it's more than happiness and satisfaction. And it also includes developing as a person, being able to be fulfilled, being able to contribute to society. And I would also add having a strong community and cities and regions that help us to do this, as well as civil society and its organizations. And this is important also for politics. We know this, and that's not just at the national level, but also at local levels and across society. As well as having a massive positive impact on health, high levels of well-being will also lead to a more entrepreneurial society and also greater active citizenship, so people can fully participate in their society and in their lives and make the contribution that they want to over the life course, both for themselves and others and their families. So why are we shifting to well-being economies across the region? We see a number of countries taking this approach, which we recognize Finland as a very strong leader and for many years now, long before COVID. And as you can see here in the work that we've been doing across countries and with various commissions in the European region, many former and current prime ministers, ministers of economy, ministers of finance are offering a lot of supportive comments for this. And this is not just for countries such as Finland that are relatively well off and have been investing in the society and economy for some time, but also for our transition economies, as you'll see at the bottom, where we have a nice quote from the Minister of Finance in North Macedonia suggesting that investing in health equity is key to North Macedonia's recovery and key to them building a sustainable economy for the future going forward. And right now, we're focused largely in the WHO European region on making sure that health is a strong partner in this agenda going forward and making sure that health is really mainstreamed into a number of elements that are key for implementing the well-being economy across the region. As you can see in the figure on the right, we're thinking of well-being as having planetary, social, and also economic components, and health intersects with all of these, and we know that. But we also know, as it shows in the text in blue, that we don't yet see health systems, public health policies and goods, or for instance, healthy life expectancy and distributional indicators systematically responding to some of the policies that we're making. And we want to make sure that the well-being economy approach is concretely included and mainstreamed into investment priorities, frameworks, and tools that are impacting both at the national level, but also across communities and societies in countries across our region. If we fail to do this, we know that we'll be undervaluing, underestimating, under-provisioning health services, public health policies, and ultimately investments in a healthy population that can lead us forward and building that human capital that's required to actually move the economy forward. We also know that health has long been seen as a cost and expense, and this is a view that we absolutely must shift, and I think that we've gotten some traction on since COVID, the need to invest in health and also our health systems. So we want to make sure that we're integrating health into these approaches so that health can be a strong partner, leader, and driver in this shift towards creating and building economies of well-being. Now, the health sector can be a driver, co-creator, and also a beneficiary of well-being economy shifts, not just at the national level, but also in cities, communities, and regions. And we know this is important. So we can build healthier societies and well-being economies through a number of interconnected agendas and working coherently together. Health has a lot to gain from this process. And we also know that well-being economies cannot be achieved without addressing the health and health inequities that we're seeing across the region, as I showed you in that second slide at the top of the presentation. We want to make sure that this is coming out, again, not just at the national level, but also in cities and communities, and working hard to do that. Health and public health goods and health systems are really a key foundation for well-being. So I'd like to keep going through the slides in the interest of time to talk about a few ways in which we know that health and the economy can work together, again, also at this local level. So we know that we can shape policies, investments, and resources to deliver well-being, and we've got a number of examples, as shown in these blue boxes, of how this can be done. So we know that prosperous cities and regions are key to this agenda. Also, rural regeneration and economic cohesion is critical. We know that the mental health and social and economic inclusion of young people is a key priority across member states right now, as well as addressing longstanding issues such as NCDs, also economic inclusion, and maintaining the resilience of health and social systems. And today, I'd like to focus mostly on this box in the upper left, prosperous cities and regions. And if you have questions about the others, I'm happy to do my best to answer those in the Q&A, but I know you've got limited time this morning. So we've got a couple of examples from other places across the region where well-being economy approaches have helped to shift forward both the economy and health in ways that have sort of co-benefits, let's say, for multiple people across society. So in the UK, you may be familiar with the Preston model, where they've focused on reinvesting in local communities through skills training, provision of decent local jobs, greater diversity of ownership, and participatory decision-making. And we've seen positive impacts from this across wages, life satisfaction, mental health, and also increased employment. Another example is Mondragon, which is a worker cooperative that's been long recognized in the Basque region of Spain. And this cooperative has managed to remain internationally competitive in addition to upholding its values for humanity at work. This model has resulted in less poverty, very low inequality compared to other regions of Spain and across Europe, improved mental health, sustained employment and wages during recessions, so it's quite resilient and robust in this way, and also increased community cohesion and a sense of belonging across the people that are part of this cooperative and directly participating in it. And this draws attention to the importance of thinking about anchors, right? Rethinking how we purchase, employ, and use the land and the assets that are available to us, because we know that this impacts on well-being and life opportunities, and also on economic and social resilience. And as shown in the box with the little light bulb, we can see for a population of about 3 million people, or a city or region of about 3 million people, we can see a shift of approximately 10% of the total spending of 10 local suppliers. And even that much of a shift in the shift of supply to those local suppliers will create about 168 to 196 million extra pounds, according to the local economy. And obviously this study was done in the UK, but we would expect to see similar gains if such shifts were made in supplying at the local level across other communities in the European region. And this is important for cities and communities, but we also know that a number of partnerships and working together across communities and across civil society is critical to delivering these kinds of gains and to be able to anchor the economy and re-embed it within its social environment to deliver on our shared objectives together. And we have a couple of examples on the left. So we know of a trade union in Northern Ireland, right? It's helped to tackle its nurses shortages, but simultaneously, the way in which they've gone about this in partnership with other organizations and local authorities in the community and the university has helped to tackle unemployment, and it's also brought benefits for individuals and the whole community in doing so, really helping to build that trust and social cohesion that we need to build. In Saskatchewan, Canada, we know of a multi-sectoral group of 36 local actors that came together focused particularly on addressing local issues around health and well-being of youth, which we know are struggling and at high risk, particularly in the aftermath of COVID. And this involved a range of local groups and partners, including even police and fire departments that are responding to emergency needs of young people, particularly concerning rates of suicide. We also know of housing associations in Wales, for instance, that have offered integrated housing, care, and support services, which we know is important. But again, they've focused on bringing in this anchoring element by employing local people to do this and focusing on their skill development and integration into these systems as well. And that co-benefit approach helps to maximize the gains that are seen across society, both for health and well-being when we take this on board. So again, this circular economy approach and this anchoring approach helps to build community wealth and well-being by hiring local workforces, supporting local businesses, engaging with cooperatives, and diverting investments to local arenas where their gains can be multiplied for local communities, people, individuals, and families. And we know that these partnerships are critical not only to delivering the economy, but also to identifying issues that are problematic, coming up with shared solutions, and building sustainable action. And this is really critical. I was at a presentation recently elsewhere, and we talked about how data is incredibly important to this process. But we also know that the front line of workers that are seeing social problems and health problems as they arrive often can detect them long before reliable, tested data is available to us to respond. So we have to get better about sensing these problems and devising solutions before we have indicators showing us exactly how large these problems are. And those indicators are important, but we know that they might play another role in the process. So these community partnerships are critical to sort of early and upfront responses and coming up with cross-sectoral interventions to address them. And we've been working with the other frontline in the WHO European region during COVID to explore and to learn really from how a lot of successful community organizations have been doing this. So we know that participatory decision-making is critical because local people and communities are the owners of their local knowledge, they're partners in understanding these problems and in co-creating solutions, as I just mentioned. And we also know that members of and connected to a range of peer and social support networks are really critical to maintaining resilience, building social cohesion, and making people feel empowered and a sense of agency as they live their lives. So that this participation itself can be health enhancing and build skills, literacy, and agency across people in the population, which is also key. And these are exactly the kind of co-benefits that we want to see the well-being economy approach bringing out across societies. So what can we do, really? And this is my final slide because I know we're coming to time. We want to know, what can subnational partners and authorities do to really make well-being the new GDP, to make sure that we're orienting our economic activities around delivering things like health, well-being, cohesion, and resilience. And we framed a number of questions to put out there that we think that local actors can ask themselves really to see if they're pushing this agenda as far as they can. And also maybe to highlight where they need extra support, tools, or resources from partners such as WHO and also others. So we want to know if local communities are able to prioritize well-being as a part of prevention and preparedness plans in order to restore resilience in populations as they face crises and other problems. Are young people engaged in decision-making about their health and sustainable development directly? Are we hiring people in local arenas in ways that benefit the community well-being and also that build trust? Are we able to engage human resources and think about anchor institutions and inclusive growth and to prioritize that in procurement and supply policies? Is procurement going to local businesses? And is it being done in a way that's protecting and promoting environmental well-being? Is urban planning and investment frameworks able to enable equitable access to public health goods? Is this something that's woven into their approach? And how could we do better? And also, are local arenas promoting partnerships across government, across all levels, but also with business and civil society, so we can promote well-being and sustainable development together? And we're only at the start of really talking about many of these issues in the WHO European region. And as you can see, we'll be hosting a high-level forum, which Finland has been a very generous partner in, and we're grateful for that, to explore these issues together with local communities and also countries across the WHO European region in March of 2023, and we look forward to that. And the QR codes here should actually link you to the scope and purpose of the event as WHO tries to continue to push forward into the 21st century of our technology. So please do feel free to use them. And if you need us to share them with you, we're happy to be in touch. So thank you very, very much. And it's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.